Recording. That was my bad. My device died and I didn't realize it died. So anywho, back on the charger. So what I was saying before, what are your questions with Saddle?
No questions.
All right, perfect. The last thing I forgot to say about Saddle, I don't teach it, but you are a dancer, so I could recommend this to you. If you are in full-blown Saddle on the floor and you're comfortable, you can actually add doing like a half banana with the top of your body. I don't suggest it for everybody because this part of the body is a lot more tense on people than they know. But I know you probably have the flexibility that if you're in that pose, you can walk your shoulders over and give yourself a little twist in it as well, as long as you don't feel tension in the back.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Let's see what else we got here. All right. So that's going to be it for the asana workshop for today. We did quite a few things. And then I don't even know what time it is. I just love teaching. I don't even know what's happening. That's fine. All right, so it's 1:42. That's perfect. All right, so I'm gonna leave this up to you if you need like a little break before I go back into lecture, or if you're okay to continue.
How long we will continue more? 1 hour?
About an hour.
Yeah, I don't know. No, it's okay.
You're good?
We'll have,
Okay.
yeah, I will just get a little juice if it's okay for you.
Oh, go get it. Yeah. Go do your thing. That way I can map out what we're going to finish up with today.
Okay.
Yeah, do your thing. Right, we did this. Feeling well. We did. Earth. Saddle. We did this. Sweet. Resume our recording. Perfect. So the next element we are going to touch base on today is the water element. So we've got water, and the two organs related to it are the kidney and the bladder. So the kidney is the yin, and this is the yang. All right. So the most important element of water, it's just like we need earth to nourish us. We need metal to cool us off. But we need water to live. Water is the source of life. I have this very strong idea that a lot of people get sick because they refuse to drink water. I see it all the time. I see people tell me they drink coffee and they drink energy drinks and all of this other stuff. And all I think to myself is, if you want to have coffee, that's fine. But just realize you have to drink 3 extra glasses of water to help with that coffee, because coffee is a diuretic. And people are like, what? I'm like, yeah, it doesn't dehydrate you like you think, but it cleanses you out most of the time. And it's because we need more fluid in our lives. So water is going to be our source of life. So this is the source of life. It's what makes everything flow, and it's what creates life and movement, especially in the earth. It is, we need water to survive, and so does everything else. Water is our source of life. The Chinese feel that the water creates life by moving the qi into the kidneys. So the water flows the qi into the kidneys. It is the beginning or the birth. So think about it, what water represents. We're in a bunch of fluid when we come into this world. If you decide to get baptized, they dunk you in water. Water is the cleanser as well. The essence, which is controlled by the kidneys, is the core of the body mind and is essential material needed for conception and new life. So if the body's not flowing and not bringing new energy in, we're not able to renew, rebirth ourselves, is their theory. Water is both yin and yang, just like all the elements, as seen in its properties of opposites. So water can be shallow and deep, can be murky and clear, or it can be calm and raging at the same time. So you see the shore is like, the waves are going nuts, but if you look out, the water is calm as anything out in the distance. The continuous flow of water is needed to cleanse, to wash, to purify, and to be powerful. The power in water is seen in the ability how it wears away in a stone. It's my favorite thing. People who, sea glass. People get excited to find sea glass a lot. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I'm like, is it? Because you know what it really is? It's actually pollution. It's actual glass. And the water and the sand has just flipped it around so much. Now it's a smooth piece of something. Same thing with rocks in a river. I have noticed when you go to a river and there's a waterfall, they are the smoothest rocks you will ever find. So water is that beautiful power to be able to move things to smoothen them out. Let's see here. The water element gives the body energy and power. So it's like, you know, when people are lethargic and stuff, I'm like, you've been drinking water? I'm like, well, so they immediately get called out and people are like, what? So water also gives will to the mind, allowing you to continue onward, able to flow in life and just say, you know, there's ebbs and flows everywhere. I just have to find the center, just like any element. The will of our mind provides instinct to survive. If you can't flow in life, anytime there's a little chaos, you're going to freeze and go into that fight and flight and be like, whoa, like kind of freak out type thing. So we need that intellect. It's our need to have the fear that enters our life. So water, unfortunately, is immediately associated to fear. The fear of the unknown, the fear of the deep, the fear of the shallow. So associate water with someone who is in fear of everything. We've met them. I don't want to do that. I don't know those people. That's fear. I don't want to do that because, you know, I'm not familiar with it. That's fear. Instead of educating yourself and going with the flow, going, wow, I have this amazing opportunity. I've never done this before. Let me try it. So it's finding not having that, well, I guess rigidness, but that's associated to other things as well. From the spiritual side, water is the source of the beginning of life, but it's also our will to survive. Sink or swim, think. You're either gonna sink or you're gonna swim in water. Kidneys store the qi for the fight or flight response. Why is this so cool? Because I do energy work. And before I learned Chinese medicine, I had energy work. And I used to tell people, kidneys are the source of fear. And Chinese medicine 100% believes that. If you live in fear, you are going to deplete your kidneys faster than blinking an eye in Chinese medicine. So to sustain emergencies or have endurance needs, we need to not be in that fight or flight state all the time, which unfortunately a lot of us are, because stress causes fear, right? We're stressing about things. We're creating some kind of tension in our mind, a fear of the unknown. What's going to happen? What's coming in? So if the water element is out of balance, we can question, like, what is life? And why am I doing all these tasks? I don't need to be doing this. We start getting fearful that if we make any changes, everything's going to change, instead of making a change to go with the flow. Let's see here. I need my glasses. That's what the issue is. I'm like, I keep losing my place. All right. So the mind takes over with the will from the kidneys and causes you to overwork yourself and do things that you cannot stop, even though you should. So that's a fear thing. I'm going to keep doing this because this is what I'm comfortable in doing, but it's really not causing any kind of new energy within me. It's like wading in the water and expecting the water to take you to the surface. You got to give it some direction. You got to let it move with yourself. The opposite can also occur with water imbalance, demonstrated by feelings of lack of will. So no determination, like no feeling like you have the will to live almost. People can associate it with that. You feel too exhausted, and even daily tasks that you have to do on the daily, you have no desire to do. Brushing your teeth, water, drinking your glass of water when you get up. It's all the things that you cut out, and it is all connected to water, which is ironic and awesome at the same time. So humbling yourself, timidness, and guilt. Guilt. So they are all forms of a lack of will. So it's like, if you're going to do something and you're going to, own it. Yeah, I did it. Probably wasn't the best, but I did it. Well, you learned from it. So that's not a negative energy. It's more of like, if you walked around and told everybody that story and what a dick that guy was earlier from your story, that would be a water imbalance. Instead, you were like, oh my gosh, I went home. I felt guilty. I shouldn't have done it. That's learning a lesson. That's not putting out negative karma. That's learning how to grow within that space. So when water is in proper balance, you can go onto life's path harmoniously without feeling like, what's that expression? Like you're pushing the river. So just let the river flow and flow with it. Don't try to make it go in a different direction or make it go faster in the other way. Let it go as time comes. I think that patience has a lot to do with water as well. They don't really say that, but patience with yourself and other people. The movement of water, it moves down to the deepest level. And the deepest place in the world is the ocean, to help you remember that. So the energy moves downward. Just like water falls from the sky, it falls down, it hits the earth, it nourishes the earth, and then trees grow up. And then having that whole cycle go from there. So in nature, it's rain, plant life, earth, and then to the sea, because once the trees grow, all the nutrients can go back into the water and into the soil, lakes, ocean, whatever we're near. Now in our body, it's water. It nourishes the cells, then it nourishes the kidneys, and then we have excretion, meaning that the kidneys are functioning properly, that the water is coming in, making things flow, and allowing things that need to leave, and the things that are good and nutritious for us, just for it to move throughout the body to where it needs to go. So both ways. Let's see here. This, when water goes to the deepest level, it collects there. So deeper in the ocean, it's going to feel like a more dense type of water. So when you are off balance, it will collect at your lowest point. If someone has edema, meaning fluid that is in their body that is not moving, not wanting to go anywhere, that is going to be your telltale sign that they have a water imbalance. Yes. So I like to tell people, because it's not always the lower leg, it can be like the lower arm too. But you'll notice the fluid will start falling to the lowest point because the energy moves down. So hands are good swollen, arms, feet, legs. And this is also seen in mothers after they give birth. So a lot of people will say, oh, well, you know, it's from giving birth and stuff. And I said that, and there's a little fear that runs through becoming a mother. So the water is not flowing as much. And then I notice, depending on what kind of mother they're deciding to be, it's going to be how quick the edema leaves their body. That's just from me knowing a lot of pregnant people. So the more that they sit around, like maybe someone who gets postpartum or gets very fearful after they have the kid, their edema is probably going to stick around a lot longer than someone who's like, this is my new life, I'm going to figure it out. I might be scared shitless, but I'm going for it. So that's the difference with that type of thing. So the hara is your power center. So I know we've talked about the hara and Ayurveda and stuff. So it's the whole center. It's not just your solar plexus. That's your power center. Even though they say it's the solar plexus, it's still going to affect your heart and your sacral. So your hara is your power center. This is the essence of where the chi goes. It goes to the power center where the kidneys are. So it goes into that space. Just like the chi for your lungs is going to go right into the lungs. So it's going to be in that area. But with the water, it's all going to be inward and down here because this is where the kidneys reside. So just think of where the organs are. Emotion, as we said, fear. All right. I know there's a bunch of ways that people talk about fear. It's like fear everything and run. That's one of the things that people always say, that what it represents. Or I say, face everything and radiate. So depending on how you're going to say, fear is spelled two different ways for people. So I'm going to tell everybody to face everything and you will radiate. But if you fear everything and run, that's going to be the negative part of fear. That's what most people do. I'm not dealing with my fear. I don't need to right now. I'll see it later. When fear takes chi from the kidneys, that's where we deplete our fight or flight response. So we deplete that nervous system almost, your parasympathetic versus your sympathetic nervous system. So we're depleting that fight or flight response. So if you've got no fight or flight response and your kidneys are really low and you're in a situation where everybody's like freaking out and like your thing is just going to be to run, not even try to fight and see what's going on. You're just going to be a runner for the rest of your life. Or you can use that fight and flight response to flight on or face forward on what's going on and learn from it. There's two different variations of that sympathetic nervous system. So some bodily functions are going to show you that you're in crisis mode constantly. So if you're in constant fear, you're in that constant sympathetic nervous system. Those are the people that are like this all the time. They can't keep their legs straight. They're moving their hands. They're always having to do something. Well, when they get like that, I notice this. People say it's anxiousness, and I say it's not always anxiousness. Someone's feeling uncomfortable. So that's how the energy comes out. When it comes out like that, what it's showing us, unfortunately, is that they're in that stress. I'm stressed. So we need to change their environment, or they need to learn to change their environment. It's okay. Say this to everybody. It is okay to walk away from conversation, people, places, and things if they're not nourishing you. It's okay to learn a lesson and walk away, but sitting into a space and continuing the same cycle is just going to, it's the same definition as insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same result, expecting it to change. We don't want that. We don't want that fear. We don't want anything taking over. So when you're going to see something, people are going to look anxious, like they're OCD. They have to make sure everything's all in line, and they're phobia people. So it's like, I have a fear of heights. And you're like, well, have you ever tried? No. And they get all, okay, so you've accepted your fear and now you're just going to work through life on it. Okay. You will heal quicker if you understand why you're scared of heights and don't want to go. That's the healing process. You have to know why you're doing these things. You can't just be like, I'm scared of heights. That's it. Well, did something happen? Is it, I don't know. Usually a fear of heights is that you don't like people looking down on you. That's what fear of heights can sometimes relate to. Not all the time, but it's like, if you can figure that out, it's not that your fear of flights or going up that high is going to like completely go away, but it's probably not going to something you're obsessing about. Right there, that's a healing thing. You connected the source with what's going on. Note that even though other elements can manifest fear, which earth and fire can too. So don't think that it's just, this is the, if they're in fear, it's just, oh my gosh, it's just the water element. No, it could be related to other things. We got to see what the kind of, where the fear came from, what the situation is. Water is the worst as it is the source of life and has very strong will. So if it hits the water, if you have a fear in the fire element or in the earth element, you're probably going to work through it a lot quicker. But if you find a fear while you're in the water element, let's just say people become pretty stubborn and just make them part of who they are. Sounds awful, but it's kind of the truth. So even though these elements are associated with certain emotions, it can leak into others, just like anything else. The color of water is blue and black. It's an easily detectable sign because it's either dark blue or blackness under your eyes. So those circles that get dark and not yellow, they get dark and black. That is how you can tell that there's a sign of fatigue in the body. So people who don't sleep, the first thing you'll notice is those bags and they're dark. And it's probably related to insomnia, but insomnia is a whole nother fear that we have to, whole other thing that you can get into, but that's something that they're going to have to work with. So they always check the face for all of this stuff in Chinese medicine. So when they have a sign of fatigue in this sense, that is a water imbalance. The sound of the water element is Eeyore, groaning. I don't wanna. So I say it's groaning, also known as Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. I'm fine, guys. The smell is putrid. So stale. Like it's just stale. It's been sitting out too long and it doesn't have like a nice element to it. The sense organ is the ear, so it has to do with hearing. So hearing sounds that make us scared or fearful reaches into our essence. So if someone scares you, that's going to hit you to the core. That's why people are like, don't do that to me. Well, because they know what kind of reaction it can cause in their body. If you scare someone by jumping out around the corner, there's going to be a while there that they're going to have this fear that you're going to jump out around the corner again. That's just natural. That's just how people are. So as our kidneys weaken with age, so do our ears and our hearing. So the older you get, the kidneys can get a little weaker if you're not giving them their life source, and the hearing can start going as well. Easy thing to remember, they like salty foods. So their taste is salty. So, but salt makes you retain water, which is interesting, and that is bad for you. But in traditional Chinese medicine, they say that it's benefits. So when you have an imbalance, you're going to crave salt more. So just like overeating, just like the sugar in earth. So it's like all you want to eat is salty things. Well, if you're craving salt all the time, that's all you eat, you're actually retaining more water in your body, and it's not digesting or moving out as easily because salt retains water. And the season related to it is winter, because it is a time of awaiting rebirth. So basically, winter is dormant, or the floating stage that we have during the year. So it's a waiting for the plants, seeds to grow, waiting for the warmth of the spring. The 3 winter months are as referred to the closing and storing. So think about bears in wintertime. They hibernate, eat a whole bunch, and then they go hide. That's what us humans should be doing during wintertime as well. We should be hibernating, going internal. We should be realizing what we need to leave behind before the new year of the spring comes in, things like that. How are we going to start our new year? We should go bed early, sunrise, suppress your desires and conceal them, fulfilled for the time being. So what they're saying is go to bed, get up with the sun, but still don't stress yourself as much about, I want to go out surfing, I want to go out and do this, I want to do that, I want to go travel, I want to do this. That is the last thing we should be doing at wintertime, is what they're saying. So not that you can't travel, but just know that the winter energy is about hibernating, going inward. And it's not comfortable. How many people like to sit in their own muck? Not many people. They don't want to go inward. They don't want to learn about their fears. They don't want to get that deep in stuff, which is fine to a certain degree. Then your time of day, so your bladder is from 3 to 5 p.m. and your kidneys are from 5 to 7 p.m. The time for water is in the afternoon because workers have to be up in have used up their AM energy. So, which is the stomach and the spleen. So these times are when essential chi is transforming by the function of the bladder. Endurance, will, the water element must now show their strength. If a patient is very tired in the afternoon, it would be advisable to get them to do something to raise that energy in the afternoon. That's why people always ask me, when is a good time to work out? Well, when do you get the most tired? So for me, if I function and I do my full-on practice in the morning, I'm good for the rest of the day. But there are days where maybe I cut my morning practice short, or I didn't get to do a lot and I feel tired during the day. So when I feel that, instead of going to sleep like most of us would do, we should actually bring in more energy. So go and do some more meditation, go move, go take a walk when you feel tired. Train your body that that's not a time to be tired, because it's a time where we need the kidneys and all of that to connect again. So working out in the afternoon, or when people go to the gym after work, it's actually very beneficial, because that's around the time that if there is an imbalance here, you are going to be a little tired. All right. And then just a little more information on this stuff. So water is associated with nighttime and rest. Not the times, but that's where it's associated with. Most of us have our fears and things come up during our dream state, or they manifest that way, or we can't sleep at night. It represents our survival instincts. It is the strong will of water that gives us strength and endurance. So if we're not sleeping, we're not going to have that strength and endurance in the morning. We're not doing what we need to do for our bodies. So remember, the kidneys are considered to be the foundation of the yin and yang. Yang is a form of chi and yin is the form of essence. So our drive and the magical source above. So the essence that's stored in the kidneys govern birth, growth, reproduction, developmental process, which is individual to the person. So it's like when you go to a doctor and you're like, what, like an example. Okay, so we'll go with the menstrual cycle because that's usually the most easily to explain. So you go in and you're like, yeah, my menstrual cycle's off and I, well, has anything changed? Well, I'm not really sure. I feel like, okay, well, we'll just put you on birth control. That's what I deal with over here. They don't even ask me how it started or anything like that. But to me, I'm like, okay, well, I never had problems down there before. But what this Chinese medicine is saying, it probably started somewhere else and then it just affected a different area. So that's why they ask so many questions and ask the different things that they do. So premature aging are signs of trouble in that kidney area. So people who age quicker are probably not getting as much qi in their kidneys. If you feed those kidneys, which is the life source in the body, not water, but the kidneys, then you're going to be able to, because it's all connected, obviously. But the kidneys is our survival or our flight or fight response. So, what did I just say? Here we go. Okay, sorry. So our sexual development is determined by infertility as well. So they're saying that if you're having troubles in the kidney, it can affect that at some point as well. If your kidneys aren't flowing right, anything that flows after it might be out of balance. It's internal as well as the outsource, like your energy field. If you're off here, you're going to be off somewhere else as well. So the kidneys do have a very close relationship to the lungs. So the qi comes into the lungs and then it goes down into the kidneys. Asthma can easily develop if the kidney yang is deficient. So if we're out of balance in the kidneys, it can cause asthmatic issues as well. So everything is connected. That's all this is repeating. So just because it's in one area, it's most likely affecting another. Let's see. Kidneys manifest on the hair, and they show up as you having shiny, healthy hair. If you have a different type of essence going on in your body, your hair will turn gray. It can get brittle and things like that. I don't 100% believe that. I'm very healthy functioning and I've had gray hair since I've been 16 years old. So I think sometimes that's hereditary as well. So it's not always just Chinese medicine. Let's see. Water's emotions. So deep fears, phobias, irrational fears, futuristic fears, overreaction, extreme courage, overcoming fear to accomplish goals against all odds can be related to a kidney imbalance. Other symptoms of imbalance may also include inflamed throat, poor hearing, tinnitus. I know people get that ringing in their ears, vomiting, bitterness in the mouth, and blood in the saliva. So it does come up in different types of forms as well. Your bladder, though, it's going to store and excrete urine, making that an important part of the transportation choo-choo train in your body. So if the kidneys aren't working right, it's going to keep stuff in the kidneys that shouldn't be there. And then when you go to pee, you can tell. This is why, you can be a poop checker, but you should be a pee checker as well. Is it dark yellow? Because that's not good. Is it completely water? That's not good either. So you want like a pale yellow to when you go to pee, saying you're hydrated and that your kidneys are doing its job. So that's why testing the urine is definitely a big part of this as well. So an imbalance of the bladder indicates that with your clients that they're going to feel sluggish and cold, but they're going to be peeing a lot. So it's almost like their internal heat gauge is off, but then they're peeing constantly. And it's copious amounts of clear urine. So meaning that your body's releasing stuff, but it ain't filtering it. So clear urine is not good. I've heard people say, oh, I just peed. Like it was almost like clear. And I'm like, oh, it's because you drank alcohol last night. So make sure it doesn't do that again. But you want to watch those type of things as well. Let's see, filters out the impurities. We said that. The uterus can be affected by the bladder as well, because it's in that same kind of area. So it has a partnership because it's on the same energetic pathway, the same meridian. Someone who shows signs of being constantly exhausted, on the edge, irritable, paranoid, or have a neurosis about things can say that their bladder's hyperactive as well. So it's fear, but also things snippiness as well. All right, this is important. So the bladder meridian governs the spine, meaning that the bladder meridian goes right along the spine. So the reason why this is kind of important is because the spine is also governed by the stomach and the gallbladder. So this is where they say it's good to know the elements, but now you just pulled in different elements because the gallbladder is wood. What was the other one? There it is. I'm like, what? So the gallbladder is wood, and then you have the stomach, that's earth. So even though it's on a water line, you're connecting with two other elements. So that's why we need to know, even though it's here, it can go into the other place because it's causing congestion in that other meridian. So having the spine on the floor during yin, having people lay on the spine, it's like giving yourself a shiatsu thing. Just putting pressure on the spine on the floor is going to open up those meridians for you. I love that. From the psychological aspect, the bladder symbolizes our backbone. I love that. Or determination. So it is will, bladder, determination. So having a strong spine. Water also contains the destiny of wisdom. If you can't flow and you can't learn, you're never going to know where you're meant to be. So if you can't go outside the thinking box or you can't flow in a different direction for a while, you'll stay in the same place for a long time. So that way, you'll notice that your wisdom can cast aside, but will is challenged and threatened. So it's like you're sitting there and you're thinking that the fear is going to rise. We don't want that to happen. And when you get scared, it sends shivers down your spine most of the time. It's all interconnected, which I think is super cool. So just to reiterate, do our little summary, and then I'll ask if you have any questions. So for our water element, we have our kidney that functions between 5 and 7 p.m. and the bladder from 3 to 5 p.m. The color of water is blue and black. So bruising, oh, that's the other one I meant. So if you bruise a lot, that can also be a water imbalance. I almost forgot about that. The season is winter. We're getting rid of fear and bringing in courage. That's what we want. The sound is Eeyore and groany. The taste you crave is going to be salty. The odor is putrid. The sense organ is the ear. The climate is cold, and the movement is downward. If you are yin deficient, it's going to mean that you're dry in the body. So water is not flowing as much, and it'll show as you being melancholy, saying nothing matters, everything feels like a chore to you. You have difficulty in relationships, you feel disconnected to everybody, pessimistic, sarcastic, and not funny sarcastic, like sarcastic all the time with no giggles about it. And you can be fussy, and then you're just going to talk about your phobias, or you are your phobias. You just walk around looking like a phobia. It's like people who like go over the top and like wears like, as I've seen lately, a full-on bodysuit to go outside now. So that right there is like pulling onto your full-on phobias. Oh yeah. If you have too much water in your body, so you're yang excessive, so too much energy running through, you become opinionated, you get cynical with people, you're resentful, you're unforgiving, like, don't ever talk to me again, I'm good. So stubbornness a little bit. You can become belligerent in your attitude, like just telling everybody how you feel with no compassion, no remorse. Obviously, you're going to be super fearful. And then you're going to have sexual issues, meaning that psychologically being physical in that way could make you uncomfortable. So just up here, not that it wouldn't happen, because people can be very unattached in sexual encounters, but in this case, they're saying like, literally you'll go in for a physical thing and be like, bye. And people be like, what the heck? because you're not feeling, you're not flowing, you're not connecting with people. But if you're in balance as a water sign, you're introspective, you're fearless, you have goals that you're working towards, you tend to be very spiritual and intuitive, an artist type, like kind of eccentric, kind of beat to your own type of drum. You go with the flow. They're able to visualize a lot easier. So visualization, they can call anything in that way. And then they will also fight for a cause that they know is worth fighting for. That's another thing about a water sign. So when they're in balance, they're gonna go for the gusto. I'm not gonna say they're gonna be a martyr, but they're gonna support everybody in the direction that they want to go, for sure. Questions about the water sign?
No, I'm good.
I love it. I love your like scan. All right. All right, let's check the time here. So do you want to do one more element or do you want to pick up tomorrow? I will leave it up to you.
No, we can do one more.
Okay, cool. All right. Perfect. And then we can do fire tomorrow, which will be an excellent theme.
Unless you think it's better to have more balanced, like 3 + 2 tomorrow. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it'll be good because then we did 2 yesterday, we do 2 today, and then we'll have the last one for tomorrow, which will give us more time to do other things. So that's perfect for me. I appreciate that. I just don't want anybody to get super overwhelmed because I know I throw a lot of information at you. But I do reiterate it with pictures, so it's not like I don't want you lost. So, all righty. Our next element is wood. Wood, and its color, I believe, is green. Let me just reiterate this really quick before. Yes, it is. Okay, so wood is green and associate it with the liver and gallbladder. Yes. Right. All right. So the wood element expresses our individual identity. Where do you stand your strongest? Who are you in your strongest element? As well as being a force of nature. So we can tell what kind of element we're going to talk about here. So think about little fairies. I don't know if you know any fairy tales about fairies in your area, but that pretty much describes them. They know who they are, they're in their element, and they are happy as can be in that way. And most people do get along with wood people. So the liver is known as the general of the body, and the gallbladder is known as the lieutenant. So they're saying that these guys, these are our people. These are the most important elements or organs in the body, according to Chinese medicine. So important, they named them. So I'll even write that here. So we have the general and the lieutenant. I almost spelled that wrong. Almost forgot the I. All right, the lieutenant. So as said in that Emperor's Classic, the Yellow Emperor's Classic I was talking about earlier, the liver is like the army and it gives a sense of direction. So this is what I was saying earlier, that the liver does, I think it's over 23 functions in the human body. It's quite a lot compared to what other ones do. The liver harnesses the power of the body mind and gives a sense of direction. It ensures that our vital forces flow in harmony and according to plan. The liver is our strategic planner, and it gives us our source of authority and decisiveness. So sticking true to who you are, no matter where you are. Well, that's good you're like that, but this is how I am. Respect? Cool. So people who are balanced in that energy is going to respect that as well. These people aren't going to argue with you in political battles or what's right and wrong. They want to know your opinion, and then they'll share theirs, and then we can have tea about it. It's kind of the way I like to describe that. So plants are largely associated with wood, obviously, because we're out in nature and we see that. But it's because of the strength of the plant. So like a blade in the grass and its ability to come up and push through anything, anywhere. Why do I love this? I have had conversations with people about this. I said, we are humans and we're here, but Mother Earth and all of her elements is always going to outbattle us. And why? You go to any ancient ruins, you go to anywhere that's been abandoned, doesn't matter. Trees, plants, everything will bust through that concrete eventually and go, I'm coming through. That's why the wood element is super, super cool. So the primal strength is to live and to grow. And that's pretty much the characters of the wood element. They just want to live their life and grow at their own pace, which is what everybody wants, I think, in their own special way. So the harmonious coexistence of many different plants in the same area also demonstrates the wood's characteristic of individual self-expression, adaptability, flexibility, creativity, organization, and like I said before, respect for everybody. Everybody around them, they always have a respect. The wood element connected to the heavenly soul. So in spirit, it is our ethereal, our heavenly soul, which is housed in the liver. So the spiritual essence, which that can last for 3 generations, is based on our goodwill to others. When we are alive and we transcend our ancestors through their remembrance of us, it is also connected to our consciousness in the form of benevolence or kindness. What this is saying is not just diseases, personality, the way we handle things. Your kidney is storing the energy of 3 generations before you. This is why you should do your work to heal yourself and have that peace so you don't pass it on. It's like breaking that ancestral energy that's just not the positive kind. So it's like you see a family who just like, they're known for being like the wallowers in the neighborhood and things like that. Well, probably the people before them were like that too. And nobody has ever decided to break the cycle and be like, well, I don't want to sit here and wallow. We should get up and do stuff. So we're just giving into that ancestral energy in our body. The movement in wood is in all directions. So all directions. So like you'll see it, it goes everywhere, which is what we need it to do. So the chi in the liver goes throughout the whole body. When there's disharmony, the direction goes in an upward motion. So everything goes up, which will cause anger in the body. Anger. So keeping that in mind, plants move in all directions and therefore the liver's energy flows out in that same sense. When there is disharmony and that the energy goes upward, it's going to cause stagnation in the body. And then cause what I like to call the anger bubble that people get out of nowhere. You ever get frustrated or angry out of nowhere and you're like, what the heck? What was that? That's this. So something in your body, whether it's physical or something you stuff down emotionally for now, and something comes out, and then the energy all comes up here. Instead of spreading evenly, it brings all that anger and rage up here instead of spreading it decently throughout the body and going, I noticed that anger. Okay, I just need to let it go. Instead, we sit in it, and then all of a sudden you're like, and you're freaking out on people for no reason. It's also a hormone imbalance, as they would call it, but I say it's very closely related to this as well. So despite the kind nature of someone who is a wood element, the anger is definitely the emotion in this element when you're out of balance. And the opposite of anger is going to be some patience. So learning patience with yourself, not even with others, because most people have patience for other people and just not themselves. Let's see. Anger is balanced by peaceful existence of complementary wood characteristics. So get yourself out in nature, go do something, do some exercise, and find where your peaceful coexistence is. Most people, it is going to be going outdoors and sitting in the green or sitting in the sun. Anger is manifested into those having a short fuse, a quick temper, which is usually associated or warning you by giving you headaches, high blood pressure, redness in the face when someone's talking to you and you're trying to stay cool, but your blood just keeps going to your face because you really are mad, but you're not going to say anything. So, and also related to eye problems as well. So just not seeing clearly if you're off balance in the wood. When anger's movement cannot go upwards, it goes horizontally. So when that happens, areas like the throat and the diaphragm and the pelvic floor are affected. Oh, wait, what is that related to? Breathing. Interesting. So wood people need to breathe when they start getting all crazy like that, because it definitely directly affects the diaphragm and all of that energy. If we're getting red and we're getting frustrated, we're letting everything build up instead of breathing. And we tighten up, we're not breathing properly, all related to the anger and the wood element. Let's see. Repressed anger is very commonly turned into depression. So also this can be linked to depression. I've noticed that any of these negative energy elements, if they stick in you long enough, is just going to cause a depression regardless, or anxiousness, depending on what kind of energy. When you truly recognize and courage to be by yourself, anger and depression does not exist. So what this is saying is you need to be you. You don't need to change yourself for anybody. You don't need to sit there and make people feel better because of the way they're feeling. That is going to just make you angry and resentful at some point. Telling someone what they want to hear instead of what they need to hear. That's all that's saying. So the color is green because it's associated to plant life. When the liver is in chronic disharmony, the skin tone will turn an olive color, which is true. I have unfortunately known some people with liver problems, and they do go a little green. It's really hard to see, but they have a green tint to them. It is dark with greenish and yellowish tinge. So another way is, have you ever had a bruise that didn't turn black and blue and it turned yellow and green almost? That would be an imbalance in the wood somewhere. So those are the kinds of things they look at on your skin. If gallbladder chi rises too rapidly, the skin will also have a little bit of red in it as well. So if it's too high, the red will come out as well. So you'll still see like the yellowish green, but obviously just remember anger is associated with red. So sometimes it can be a wood imbalance, even though we're going to talk about red with fire tomorrow. So this is still a depiction of it. The sound of wood people is shouting. They'd like to tell everybody how they feel loud and proud. So they tend to be a little loud, which I appreciate. I don't care. Live your life. But they sound like they're shouting a lot. It's those people that are like, why are you yelling? I know we've all had that. Why are you yelling right now? I don't know. I'm just really excited. Well, that's them elemental in their wood at that moment. So it is the sound of the wood element. Occasional shouting is considered, I don't know. It's okay if someone can't hear. So if someone has trouble hearing and you're shouting because of that, that's not a wood thing, just so we know. But when shouting becomes part of your everyday life, even as a mother, if if you're just yelling about everything, or like a teacher, if you just start yelling every day, then it's become a part of an imbalance in either your liver or your gallbladder. So we need some more wood balancing in our life. A soft, timid voice can be a sign of a wood imbalance because they're used to yelling so much or just being loud. So if they start getting really like, yeah, you know, I don't know, that's also an imbalance in the wood. All right. The odor that comes with it is rancid. Like you left something baking in the sun that should be refrigerated, is the way I like to, rancid. It's unpleasant, and it has like a rotting type energy to it, like a rotting smell. Because if your liver ain't functioning, it's going to start, unfortunately, decaying the rest of the body. Not all the time, but sometimes. So that's why the smell is easily detectable. It smells like you're rotting from the inside out. The sense here, the sense organ, is going to be your eyes. Now, not everybody that needs to wear glasses has a wood imbalance. I will say that. Sometimes things are hereditary. But that's one of those things, of those ancestral bonds we want to break. As if in Chinese medicine, that's what they would say. Well, find a way to heal your eyes so nobody else has to deal with this. That's kind of their attitude about stuff, which I love. But the eyes are our ability to clearly see, have an intellectual conversation with someone. You're never going to have an intimate conversation with someone doing this all the time. It's never going to happen. Eye contact. So many eye issues, from blurred eyes, if you start getting floaters, and I'm talking, this is random stuff. So like you're just sitting there talking to someone, all of a sudden you see something out of the corner of your eye. That's the kind of imbalance they're talking about. If you have dry eye, if you tend to get, I guess, eye issues like cataracts, things like that, that can all be associated to this. Redness or pain in the eyes shows fire. The element fire got into the liver. So the liver is too fired up. And when I say that other elements cross into these other elements, it's strictly because the meridians cross and they decided to hit a point where they're hitting both the meridians. So a fire line and a wood line. If there's just yellow in the eyes, so no green, just like yellowing of the eyes, will show that there's dampness in the gallbladder. So there won't be yellow anywhere else, just directly under the eyes with no other color. The taste that they crave when they're out of balance is sour. They like sour stuff, like good sour stuff, not crappy sour stuff, just sort of. Like people who love Sour Patch Kids, I'm like, I bet you do. No, that's the only sour thing that I can think of. But like kimchi's kind of sour, and I love kimchi. So things that are pickled, that's kind of like the sour taste they're talking about. So it's like an astringent type of, smell. So let's see. So I love this. It says the feeling. So think about the taste. It's like the feeling of having a lump in your throat, or a sour stomach, or people calling you a sour puss. They say that all has to do with, related to wood elements. If you're acting like a sour puss type thing. The season related with it, wood is one of my favorite elements because it's springtime. Growth, renewal, whatever you don't want to do anymore, let it all go and grow into something new and beautiful. Times they are a changing. So wood, let's see here. So it's when everything is getting in life, everything's getting back in harmony. The dormant winter is no longer upon us. We're starting to see maybe some rain to bring some green into the world. But even though spring might be a vitalizing time for most people, because people see springtime and they're out like, yes, let's go do stuff and everything. If you have an imbalance in your liver or gallbladder, this is the time of year where it's going to become physically intense. So if you're out of balance in an element and we hit that time of year, it's going to be more intense in that season. That's with all elements, not just the wood. So what they will experience is like discomfort mentally and physically. So that strength of knowing who they are and what they look like and owning it starts kind of dissipating. So the wood element has to do with the beginning of all time. So it's like rebirth, and then it can be categorized as a new day. Every day in spring is a new day. Every time you go outside in spring, something new is out there. That's the beautiful thing. And that kind of energy is showing you that there's something new to learn every day, no matter where you're at. So this is why people say they get spring fever, or, you know, spring flings, where people are just dating like crazy. It's the energy. It's definitely that kind of energy that time of year. So wood is connected also strongly to the menstrual cycle and menopause. So, and giving birth. So wood is definitely going to be directly related to your menstrual cycle. This is maybe why some people, their menstrual cycle changes throughout the year. Like they'll be like, oh, I get it every 28 days. Then maybe I get it every 30. Well, maybe do a chart and see like what time of year, like it starts doing those type of things. Not saying that there's an imbalance, but maybe there's something little that you just need to acknowledge that get it back on track maybe. So the type of climate that is associated with wood is the wind. And the reason why I say this is because if you think like wood plants, they're going to drop the seeds. And in order for them to be planted, the tree and the plant can't dig them into the ground, but the wind can blow them and then blow things on top of them to eventually have that seed go deeper and be able to grow. So the wind element, it's very penetrable into the body because it can be blown in as well. And in the windy conditions, the body may arise and see that there might be an acute infection, a sudden rise in pain. So it's like the wind element. It's going to come out of nowhere. It might not stick like the wind. It just might be like, and then leaves. So you're going to feel discomfort, like head colds are pretty quick. I know some people go down for 14 days, but if you have a real head cold, it's probably only going to be there for 3 days. So it's a pretty quick moving element. But if you get stuck in it, it's going to feel like a pretty vicious cycle to continue into. Let's see. And just like anything, out of balance here is going to bring on seasonal depression for somebody. So mimic the wind. Think about moving around confusingly. That's what the wind does. It's just like, I'm just going to blow wherever. I don't care what I knock down or do whatever I need to do. Appearing and disappearing without any warning. Those are all wood imbalances. So someone, maybe like myself, who just disappears at a party out of nowhere because she's just done. That's kind of an imbalance. I should tell somewhere where I'm going. But that's me just going, I don't feel this anymore. I feel a change in the direction. I'm going. And I know there's a lot of people like that. Not saying that's not part of my personality, but it's something I should learn from, because I think that, you know, being like the wind sometimes can be a little distraught to people, especially if there's someone who's super grounded. They don't want to be around someone who's flying all over the place all the time. An internal wind can arise with an imbalance, and how that would show. So internally, that would be like a lot of movement in the body quickly. So like tremors. So think about like shaking movement, like wind. Strokes are related to that because there's usually a little sign of something before the full-on stroke happens. What else? Ooh, confusion. So like a lot of confusion in the brain, like their wind is going so fast internally, they can't collect their thoughts. They're just like, oh, and it's just too much going on. And then it'll just be like a loss of consciousness. And the reason I say that is because they lost who they are. They don't know what they're standing for anymore, what kind of morals they have. They're just kind of running into the wind. My favorite element to talk about the time of day is the liver, whose prime time functioning is when everybody's coming home from the bar. It's 1 to 3 a.m. And then your gallbladder is from 11 p.m. I keep doing it. 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. So I even make this face when I talk about it when I've taught it before. Isn't it ironic that bars are staying open in the time when your liver needs to be recovering and you're drinking more? I've always found this super fascinating, but it also makes me realize why some people pass out after they drink and why other people will wake up the next day without sleeping. It's because their liver didn't get to function and figure out what it needed to do. So on the outside, it's going to show that you're in balance as well. So with the liver, not saying not to go out and have fun with your friends at night and stuff too, but it's so important to drink water while you're drinking alcohol for this reason. Still feed the liver and the kidneys water, even when you're putting stuff in there that might not be good for the liver or kidneys. Just make sure you're using a lot of water. I am that crazy person that goes out with people to a bar and I'm drinking a water with every drink that I have. Well, I might not get as drunk as everybody, but I can function at the end of the night. I still had a good time, but I'm not going to feel hung over the next day. It's also another sign. Hangover, your liver is begging for you to please give me water and give me the nutrients I need. That's basically what a hangover is. So the wood chi affects how we face our day. So if we're night owls or awaken at those times during the night, it will affect you getting up and starting your day. Right there, right back to the whole hangover thing. So if you're not sleeping and letting your liver function or properly function, I know when we're younger and in our like early 20s, you can drink all you want and act like a total normal person the next day. That's because we're not fully developed until we're 28 years old. A little fun fact people do not know. Your body is still growing and changing and not fully developed until you're around 26 to 28 years old. Once you hit those ages and you get closer to your 30s, people are like, I'm starting to get hangovers now. I can't drink like I used to. And I'm like, because finally your liver's going, I could process that a lot quicker when you were younger. Don't do it anymore. It's just a good little effector. And just so we can say right now, I'm not against drinking, just so we know. I'm not shaming anybody. I'm just explaining why people's bodies react the way that they do. So wood is associated with the morning. So it's like the initial action. So those qualities would be like planning for your day, being assertive, making plans and sticking to them, things like that. Wood can also get very controlling, and that can also cause some anger issues in people as well. These guys are great to put in charge. They're great with authority. They're very well organized, but they can tend to be irritable. So we just have to watch. They're great when they're in charge, but if they're having a day, just know to just kind of step away from them. Don't pry. Wood people do not like to be pried about because they're going to be like, hey, I'm just not feeling good today. And you're like, oh, okay. Do you need anything? No, I'm good. I just want to be left alone. Okay. And then you walk up to them 10 minutes later and be like, are you sure? A wood element's going to go, I said I'm okay. That's my prime example for that because I see that a lot in people too. So they're not trying to be mean, but they're just like, why didn't you understand me the first time? Now I'm mad. Not mad, but that's when they get a little snippy. So the wood element is going to govern your hope and your visions and your individual evolution, where you're going to go, what you're going to do. So your drive, basically. Your liver is directly related to your blood. So it stores the things that your blood needs. It gives the things the blood needs. And it can be your blood reservoir. So the liver is going to hold things on for you and release as you need them. But if you're not nourishing the body, even the extra storage that liver has for you will become depleted. So you can go a few days being sick. You can go a few days not doing well. But then once you start refunctioning again, it's mainly because your liver had some backup, and it's going to depend if you heal quicker or slower, depending on how healthy your liver is. When the blood is not being, or the blood and the nutrients aren't being properly processed through the liver, you're going to notice things in people. It's going to be a blood deficiency. And when people have blood deficiency, they tend to have a dull personality, dull skin, dry hair, Dizziness, they get dizzy out of nowhere. Poor memory, like I said, so their concentration isn't there. Yeah. Ooh, and if you're someone who doesn't menstruate normally, you have like a really like dainty period, that's a huge wood imbalance as well. How they diagnose the liver. They look at your nails. Now, you're probably going to start doing this because I did after I found this out. So people have toenails and fingernails, okay? Your best depiction is going to kind of be your toenails because that's where people usually manifest like discoloring and more smells and things like that. But you can notice with people's nails, I don't have any white on my nails because I massage sometimes, but you can't see like any ripples in my nails. Some people you'll see like they have like bubbly in their nails, like it looks like they have bubbly nails or yellow in their nails, or you can see that they're not smooth and rounded. That is going to be the one thing they look at when they go to look at you, because they're going to go, okay, the nails are off. They're not shiny. They're not strong. So people have brittle nails, like literally touch anything and it breaks. That can be directly related to the liver, because those are some of the nutrients that the blood provides from the liver. Let's see. Oh yeah, I love it. Cracked and dried nails will be present. You're right. You're right. When there is heat in the blood, the liver moves it around wildly, but it can cause profuse bleeding. Nosebleeds out of nowhere is one of the big things. You get a nosebleed out of nowhere. Your period gets super heavy out of nowhere. Blood forming anywhere on the body. So you'll see like red patches in the skin where a lot of blood is going to flow because they feel like they need something there. But once it's there, it becomes to get really itchy and it won't move. And people will think it's allergies. It's actually an imbalance in the liver. So anger and resentment is definitely what is going to be related to this. So people who are very resentful have a very strong wood imbalance that they need to get through. So what they are going to say, if the liver chi is stagnant and it's not flowing, mood swings. Your PMS is going to be, everybody get away from you. You're going to have painful breast, men and women, because men definitely get that pain as well. Or you'll feel like there's a lump in your throat and you'll have difficulty swallowing. Meaning, energetically, you're having a lot of time swallowing the way you're acting because you're not being your true self again. You've gone away from who you know who you are. So the part of the liver that one of the nutrients it also does besides the nails is the lubrication in your eyes. So people who have dry eye, it's probably a liver thing as well, because this is where we sense everything, is right around this area. We can look in the eyes, on the nose, and the nails, and then they check like the superficial skin. So people who can't cry, I giggle because I know some people. I just can't cry. And I'm like, you better work on that. And they're like, why? I said, everybody should be able to cry. I don't care if you don't want to do it in front of people. But if you can't cry, there's something going on. That means that there's no liquid able to leave your tear ducts. To me, that's a sign, saying, well, I don't need to cry because I'm stronger than that. Okay, well, how about you cry and make sure that your eyes are functioning properly? Because I can't imagine trying to get upset or wanting to cry and nothing coming out. I would just feel a headache right in here, me personally. So I love crying. I think it's great. Because tears show you're either enraged or full of compassion. It's one or the other. So you just got to debate what kind of energy someone's in before you engage when they're crying. So those are the two emotional poles when it comes to having tears. Rage and anger, or you're going to be compassionate as hell. So let's see here. Nope, we did that. Okay. So wood is also going to have to do with our elasticity in our tendons and muscles. So people who are super, super tight and feel like their tendons and their ligaments aren't releasing, or they've been that way for a very, very, very long time, most likely it's going to be related to an imbalance here. meaning the tendons don't want to soft no matter what they're doing. So some kind of nutrients not going through, and they're not doing enough movement. So those are the both two things you can look at. So if you are deficient in wood, it's going to come up with, you know, those little accidents you have where you strain a muscle, what's the other one? Stress, sorry, but stress is actually good in yin, so I don't like using that word. But if you sprain, that's what it is, sprain or strain a muscle or tendon or ligament, that's going to be a wood imbalance. Because here's the thing, something was talking to you before and it was telling you to be patient with yourself, and you decided, no, I'm going to do it. That's an angry type of emotion. And once you push yourself further than you need to in anger, that's where we're going to cause problems in the body with the tendons and the ligaments. So people who have habitual or excessive behaviors usually have an imbalance in the liver. Are alcoholics, are drug addicts, are people addicted or not addicted to food? People who are addicted to anything to cover up their pain and anger. I don't want to deal with this. I'm not going to go talk to someone. I just think running for me is good. Okay. Well, they've been saying that for 7 years. I'm like, well, you're still angry about it and you run every day. So you just have to watch how people are talking to themselves as well. You think you're doing something, but we might need to do a little extra. That's all it's saying. So this is why people who have a liver imbalance tend to get headaches, or they have toxicities in their body, or they're attracted to having toxicities in their body. The liver is going to distribute all the nutrients, so all the energy that your cells, your blood, your lymph, everything needs. And if it's not functioning in a proper manner, it's just going to burst throughout the body, which can cause an emotional outburst as well if things aren't dispersing evenly. So emotional energy and the physical energy in the liver and gallbladder is just going to be shown, like I said before, in those emotional outbursts or those mood swings. So pretty much when you see a guy and you have to look at him and go, oh, is it your time of month? Because I've said that before. This is what's happening. So it's like, I know what it's like because I have PMS and I get like that too, but you don't. So where is this coming from? So this is something that I always say that it's good to know, because people are tactless. They can be inappropriate. They can deprioritize you. That's about them. That has nothing to do with you. But they start devaluing other people because they lost the values in themselves. That's a wood person for sure. And knowing that the liver meridian runs right through the genital area. So it definitely goes through there. So that's where it's saying it's still going to cause issues with maybe like hemorrhoids or coccyx or sacral pain, those type of things. So that can be related to the wood element as well, or something else, depending on how much knowledge we have of somebody. So the gallbladder, mental and spiritual work, like we said earlier. So the liver is the general and the gallbladder is the lieutenant. So the liver makes the plan, and then the gallbladder initiates it, goes out and makes it into action. So the gallbladder, so CEOs, companies who are constantly making decisions can suffer from gallbladder, or parents who are always having to make decisions for everybody. It's going to cause headaches at first. It's going to cause neck and shoulder tension. It's all going to start there. And then eventually the gallbladder is going to get removed. People get their gallbladder removed all the time. I'm going to say it. I don't like that. I'm not a fan, especially now that I know how it works. So knowing that these two work hand in hand, just know that any of these imbalances can show up in the liver or the gallbladder. It's going to show up in the liver first, unfortunately. And then if the liver doesn't get healthy, then it's going to extend out into the gallbladder. So someone who pushes themselves way too hard or puts strain on their life for no reason, that's going to be a gallbladder. Like, I need to do better. I need to do this. And people are like, why? Everything's fine. And you're like, no, I need to be the best of the best of the best. That's kind of pushing yourself to somewhere where that's not the best version of you. If you're having to work really hard to be that type of person, that's probably not in alignment with yourself. So if you are in balance with the gallbladder, you're going to notice you're going to be organized, you're going to be tidy, you're going to have some clarity, your space is going to be clean, you're not going to be cluttered a lot. But if you are in disharmony, you're going to be the absolute opposite. So you're going to go into your extremes. You're going to be messy. Your tidiness of cleaning up after, you're just going to leave your mess for everybody. If you have a mess in your space, you got a mess in your mind. I'm sure you've heard that before. If you can't clear your space where you're hanging, or you feel like you got clutter everywhere, if you're cluttering your house, you're cluttered in your mind. Let's see. Right? Yes. So like we said, this is associated with the eye element. So this meridian, it does begin at the eyes. So the gallbladder line and the liver do like this cool thing around the head, and then they work their way down. So this is why it's controlled, or I'm sorry, this is why it's associated with the eyes, because it controls your perception of things. Just because you're one way and you would do something that way, when you're kind of out of balance, you expect people to do the same exact thing for you. They can't do that. They don't think like you. They don't function like you. That's an imbalance as well. So seeing things for what they really are. The gallbladder and liver dominate the tendons. So like I said, if we're not breathing and we're not moving and our body feels super, super tight, it can totally be related to this element as well. So if we are improperly perceive and judge situations for as they are and have a physical response instead of sitting down and taking the time to kind of work our way through it, it's going to dominate our emotions and have those emotional outbursts again. The same can be said for poor vision and poor muscular coordination. It can lead to accidents. It can lead to you being clumsy. So if you're not thinking straight, I am famous for this. I will be like, oh my gosh, I'm late for something. And I usually don't like being late at all. So like, I like run around, but when I get like that, I guarantee you I fall every time. Out of nowhere. Like, I'm not even doing anything that would like even make it okay for me to fall like that. And all of a sudden I fall and I'm like, okay, step back, calm down. We're not in chaos. Stay calm, stay organized. So the sides of the body that are influenced with the liver and the gallbladder, they have a split in between because it's on one side and the other. But this can be seen when you cannot see the opposite things in a situation of problem. So what they're saying is in balance, they're on opposite sides of the body. So people who have wood in them, they tend to see both sides of everything. They're like, I can understand that, but I would do this. Not, I can understand that, but you should do this. It's a supportive, compassionate energy. And when they're not being like that, it turns into controlling and, well, I did this and you should try it because it worked for me. It doesn't work like that. So things that can come up is for an imbalance in the gallbladder would be like heartburn or having indigestion in your digestive system, like flatulence, or if you're burping a lot, if you have acid reflux, or if you tend to get sick to your stomach a lot, like diarrhea. Emotional clarity and impartiality are needed in good decision-making. We'll say this again. Emotional clarity and impartiality are needed in good decision-making. People are famous for wanting to tell you what to do instead of asking you what you want to do. So this is also related to, I tell people all the time, keep your goals and what you want to do in life to yourself. No need to tell anybody, because then you're going to have these other people come in, well, maybe you should do it this way, or maybe this would be better for you. And I'm very strong in wood, and I'd be like, thank you, but I didn't ask. Not rude about it, but I'm just like, thank you, I appreciate it, but not really where I'm going with it. And I tend to have that energy. For some reason, people don't get mad at me a lot because I know how to speak to people. That's my wood element. I read the energy, I see where you're at, I watch how you communicate with people and how you communicate with yourself. And then I read the energy, and then I'll go in and initiate. It takes some time, but that's a good wood balance to have, is knowing that you have to be able to decipher from the both. So when these things are in disharmony or have a deficiency, it'll cloud your decision making, and then you'll let other people make the decision for you. So when you're like, I'm doing this, I'm going back to school, I'm going to be this, blah, blah, blah. And then someone like, well, what's your age? Do you really want to spend all that money? They don't mean it, but then you being a person, you're like, maybe they're right. Are they telling me this for a reason? We don't really want that kind of energy. So standing strong in your ground in your decision making. Think of yourself as a tree that is grounded in the middle of the forest. All the trees around you, they're all still doing their own thing. Nobody's trying to affect everybody or tell someone to grow faster, grow quicker. You need more roots. They all stand individually in their space, and they're strong and they're sturdy. And that's what the wood element is related to. So it is said that the virtue of wood is human kindness. Human kindness, kindness, generosity, and to renew our lives with a meaning. So having tolerance for those who want to help and for those that want to make you angry. So knowing that both exist, but finding your center that you don't let either affect you. Right. And our little review for wood. So wood, color is green. Liver, 1 to 3 a.m. Gallbladder, 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Springtime, all about the renewal. Anger is the element, so finding patience. They sound like they're shouting a lot. The taste is sour is what they're attracted to. The odor is rancid. I don't even like that word. I can smell it. The sense organ is the eyes. The climate is windy, moving around, but the movement is upward. The energy comes upward. Should go out and everywhere, but it goes upward when it's out of balance. When you are yin deficient in this, you'll feel shame, inward anger, anxiety, restlessness, self-balance, stuck in your head. What else? Hopelessness. Oh, it's never going to happen for me. Having your uppers and downers, and dependency issues. If you are too much in your wood element, you got too much wood, we got to get rid of some. You're going to seem aggressive. You're going to be angry, impatient, frustrated, abrupt. Let me see. Overly serious. So someone who you think's being sarcastic or like a little serious, and you're like, ah, and they'll be like, no. So seriousness in that. Insensitive to others. You can't relax and you don't play well with others. Workaholics, and they take on way too much so they don't have to deal with their outside world. When they are in balance, they are tenacious, they are adapting, self-reliant, they're driven, they're patient, they love adventures, they love going outdoors, they're patient, they're flexible, and competitive in a very healthy way. So that is the element of our wood this evening, or this evening. Well, evening for you. Evening for you. Questions on any of the wood element?
Not for now. I will read through all the things we did, and then maybe I have more questions tomorrow. But I don't think so, because we did pretty much everything very exhaustively.
Yes. Yes. I make sure that that happens, because then you're going to read and you're like, I kind of remember all this. And you're like, yep,
yeah,
that's what I want to do. Drilling
like
into the brain. So wonderful. So tomorrow we will meet again at 1 p.m. my time.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I can only do 1 to 4 tomorrow. And then I will
okay.
see how much we get done. I'll send you a list of what I want to finish, and if you would like to do it with me on the weekend. And then you should be getting my videos and my meditations this week as well.
Okay. Amazing.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Have a great night, sweetheart.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.